Good afternoon. Today I'd like to talk to you about the history of OLC, the Oriental Land Company, who own and operate the Tokyo Disney Resort in Urayasu, Chiba, near Tokyo in Japan. First, I'll look at the conception of the Oriental Land Company and Tokyo Disneyland. Then I'll move on to the design and construction of Tokyo Disneyland. The last part concerns the development of Tokyo Disney Resort. First, let's start the story of the conception of the Oriental Land Company and Tokyo Disney Resort. This is Urayasu, Chiba in 1948. The coastal area was sandbank that had been a fertile fishing ground for hundreds of years, until the water quality declined as Tokyo expanded in the early 20th century. Chiba Prefecture decided to reclaim this land for development. This would attract business to the area and allow the construction of a highway and train line link to Tokyo. The Oriental Land Company was thus formed by Keisei Railway Electric Company to develop the area and provide a demand for transport infrastructure. However, they had no idea what to build. Traditionally, railway companies in Japan built large department stores inside train stations to drive passengers, but the size of the land in Urayasu provided the opportunity to build something bigger. The Oriental Land Company was set up on July 1st, 1960, inside the head office of Keisei Rail in Ueno, Tokyo. There were just 3 desks, 3 employees, and no telephone. The main figures in the early days were Mr. Chiharu Kawasaki, then president of Keisei Rail, and Mr. Hideo Edo, then president of Mitsui Fudosan Co. Limited. The 2 men had been classmates at Tokyo University, but had very different ideas as to what to do with the reclaimed land. Edo, a real estate specialist, wanted to sell off the land piece by piece to commercial developers. However, Kawasaki, who was born into a family of artists, had other ideas. He had built rose gardens and small amusement parks as head of Keisei Rail, and now he wanted to build the most spectacular recreational facility Asia had ever seen. Plans were drawn up for a leisure park called Oriental Land, which included a theme park, an auditorium, hotels, and a shopping complex. Before construction could begin, the process of reclaiming the land around Urayasu had to be completed. However, the local fishermen still held fishing rights to the area and would have to sell these to the Oriental Land Company. The fishermen distrusted the large company and negotiations were not easy. Mr. Masatomo Takahashi, who was hired by the Oriental Land Company in 1961 for his diplomatic skills, was sent to the dining bars, izakayas, of Urayasu to drink with the fishermen and gain their trust. Fortunately for the Oriental Land Company, Mr. Takahashi was a strong drinker. In frequent late nights with the fishermen, talks were concluded in just 6 months. Partial fishing rights were sold to the OLC in 1961 and the complete fishing rights were sold in 1971. Land reclamation was completed in 1970 and now attention fell to the development of Oriental Land. The Oriental Land Company studied leisure facilities around the world in order to build the best possible park. In May 1972, a team visited Disneyland in Anaheim, California. Mr. Kawasaki was hugely impressed and became determined to bring the Disney experience to Japan. In December 1974, Disney executives visited Japan for a detailed presentation at the Imperial Hotel in Tokyo. After the presentation, attendees were taken by helicopter to Urayasu to view the proposed site. The executives were impressed by the location, having both a sea view and a short distance to central Tokyo. After several years of negotiation and planning, the agreement to build Tokyo Disneyland was signed on April 30th, 1970 between Disney CEO E. Carden Walker and new Oriental Land Company President Masatomo Takahashi. The agreement was a licensing deal which meant the Oriental Land Company would own and operate the park and Disney would control design and operating practices. Now let's move on to design and construction of Tokyo Disneyland. The design was mostly based on the Magic Kingdom Park in Walt Disney World. For example, Sleeping Beauty's castle is almost exactly the same in Orlando and Tokyo. However, there are some significant differences. The main shopping street in Tokyo Disneyland is covered in glass, and though there are lots of popcorn stands in the Magic Kingdom, some popular Japanese flavors such as curry and black pepper cannot be found. While design work continued, the Oriental Land Company began sending trainees to Disneyland in California to learn park operations there. The first management trainees spent a year from January 1980 learning every aspect of every department. In total, 150 employees trained at Disneyland. The Tokyo Disneyland groundbreaking ceremony was held on December 3, 1980, and construction began in January 1981. The initial budget was 100 billion yen, but the final cost came to almost 180 billion yen. President Takahashi was determined to build the best possible park, whatever the cost. Construction was completed in March 1983 and the park opened on April 15, 1983. Disney President E. Carden Walker and President Takahashi officially opened the park with the help of Mickey Mouse. Finally, let's look at the development of the Tokyo Disney Resort. Attendance increased from 9,993,000 to 13,382,000 in the first 5 years of operation. The Oriental Land Company attracted new visitors to the resort by importing new attractions from the American Disney parks, such as the Tokyo Disneyland Electrical Parade in March 1985. Then, Big Thunder Mountain in July 1987 and Splash Mountain in October 1992. When Tokyo Disneyland began to turn profit in March 1987, plans to transform the single park, single day experience into a whole day resort, multi-day experience got underway. The first major development was the opening of Maihama Station on the JR Keio Line train service, which would provide a direct link to Tokyo Station. Before this, the only transportation links to the park had been by road. On the 5th anniversary of Tokyo Disneyland, Oriental Land Company executives announced plans to build a second park. The original plan was to base the new park on Walt Disney World's Disney MGM Studios with a movie theme. However, in 1992, it was decided to build the first original Disney park in Japan, Tokyo Disney Sea, themed around the 7 seas. The groundbreaking ceremony was held on October 22, 1998, where further plans for hotels and a shopping complex were also revealed to transform Tokyo Disneyland into Tokyo Disney Resort. Disney Sea was completed in September 2001 at a cost of 335 billion yen. The opening ceremony was held on September 4th. Disney Sea was the main part of the Tokyo Disney Resort expansion, which built up around Maihama Station. The first Disney-branded hotel, the Ambassador, and Ikspiari, a shopping center, opened on July 7, 2000. Bon Voyage, a gift shop opened past park hours to non-park visitors, began trading in March 2001. Then in July of that year, the Disney Resort Line monorail system opened, allowing guests to travel conveniently between parks and hotels. A second hotel, Hotel Miracosta, opened inside Disney Sea Park at opening. Finally, the Disneyland Hotel opened at the gates of that park in July 2008. In conclusion, the Oriental Land Company has overseen a vast change in the landscape of Ieyasu in the last 50 years. From sandbank, to reclaimed land, to a world-class theme park, to a spectacular holiday resort. Thank you very much for listening.